Gataxian probe by Christian Calcano. Reveals Andrejs' hand. Sorry for those at home, we had a brief lapse in audio. Hopefully that's working again for you now.
So Calcano with 2 wastelands. So it's tough. Andrejs opted to fetch and just not do anything on the first turn to play around Stifle.
But in doing so,
he got wastelanded. And Calcano, you can see the top of his hand is another wasteland. So as tends to happen in Legacy, it's just like land, go, wasteland, it, go, back and forth.
Yeah.
And it looks like that's going to happen again here from Calcano.
And we've seen Calcano multiple times in the feature match area using Gataxian Probe to get the information he needs to set up the early mana denial, whether it's setting up a Stifle, depending on what your opponent's going to do next, or knowing whether to go for a wasteland game plan, knowing that your opponent only has 1 or 2 lands.
Right. So Prost did get 2 lands wasted, but he's not out. Fortunately for him. But interestingly, he didn't crack the third.
Yeah.
Third fetch, he was like, all right,
that
you know
is a
what?
little interesting.
2's enough.
It's kind of strange, too, because he played around Stifle twice by main phase fetching, and then after being wastelanded twice is now playing around wasteland.
Right.
Does that make sense to you? Or?
No, it doesn't to me. You would think the third time,
now it's
way more likely he has a Stifle.
Instead of a wasteland, relatively speaking.
Relatively speaking.
So, yeah, interesting. A little bit of a rock, paper, scissors thing, a little bit psychological, too. Prost goes for an Ancestral Vision, so ensuring that if the game goes long and the players continue to tread water like they have been, that's going to refill his hand.
So that's why he didn't play a fetch, is because he wanted to draw land. As you can tell, he has no more.
I see. Ponder from Calcano.
2 lands and another ponder, probably a shuffle. A 3rd wasteland from Calcano.
Prost just kind of shakes his head in disgust.
Yeah, he just has no lands, can't play any spells, but he does have an Ancestral Vision looming. So if that's able to resolve, and Christian Calcano hasn't had time to put too many threats into play, maybe that can get him back in the game. Wow, Gurmag Angler, that's a threat.
5/5. And that doesn't get hit by Abrupt Decay, it doesn't get hit by Disfigure. So that's going to actually provide a pretty quick clock and even be pretty hard to answer. Even if Prost hits a couple land drops in a row, and he does not.
Yeah, there just aren't that many answers in the deck.
Yeah.
Like, looking at Prost's list here, he has 1 Maelstrom Pulse, 2 Liliana of the Veil, a Jace the Mind Sculptor, and 2 Baleful Strix. That's about it.
Yeah. And that's one of the weird characteristics of Legacy, which is the format is so powerful, but because of the power, you're forced to be really efficient. And when you choose all efficient removal, there are gaps in what your removal can hit.
Right, unless of course, you're playing white.
Yes, that is true.
And then you get the most efficient removal spell of all time.
So Prost definitely on the back foot, taking tons of damage from the Gurmag Angler and potentially from the Deathrite Shaman. Ancestral Vision poised to go off here next turn, not this turn, but next turn. So we'll see if he can piece anything together. It's looking pretty rough, though.
Yeah. I think his best bet is somehow to get... I mean, it's so threatening, even with the Deathrite Shaman, but he's probably going to need to get a Baleful Strix into play and try to keep Gurmag Angler from attacking. Or, obviously Calcano's not going to trade for it, but just hope Calcano doesn't have anything. I mean, It's a tough spot.
Here comes Young Pyromancer into Gataxian Probe. reveals a pretty clunky hand of a bunch of Tarmogoyfs and abrupt decays. Pyromancer just representing a diversity of threats here for Calcano, meaning that even if the Gurmag Angler is somehow stopped by, say, a Baleful Strix, Calcano can just kind of go around it with a bunch of tokens, potentially.
Yeah, this is one of those situations where the game is so out of hand that likely Andrejs could just stack his deck and not win. Yeah.
And he agrees, goes ahead and packs it in, and we will be off to game 2. Christian Calcano up a game. You can see him looking pretty confident. Getting ready for game 2. And in the meantime, we have our look-in match ready. So we're going to head over to Brian DeMars versus Martin Goldman Kirst.
Looks
this
like
is Miracles
Martin has
versus
just
Allurin.
won.
Yes.
Here's our live look-in at everybody picking up their cards as Martin is victorious in the
you can tell
first
he won
game.
because of how many Dreamstalkers and Imperial Recruiters he had on the battlefield.
And Allurin was also just in play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Allurin, pretty cool deck. We got to see it a couple times early in the tournament. Hopefully we'll get to show it to you all in a little bit more of its glory at some point here in the top 8.
I really do love that deck.
It's a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
It's very cool. Plays a lot of obscure cards that you don't get to see elsewhere. Here's a look at our whole feature match area. Players really focusing in and seeing who is on the road to become our next Grand Prix champion. Now, one thing I do want to mention here, Huey, is that in the top 8, players do have access to one another's deck lists.
Right.
So you can see there are some sheets of paper on the table. While sideboarding, they have access to look over each other's deck lists and see what they're up against and what their opponent has access to. How much does that influence things here as you're sideboarding, or is it mostly just like
I think it matters a lot, actually. Mm-hmm. It matters more for how you play the games, but it definitely helps in sideboarding. A lot of the advantage you gain from having a deck list is when, you know, a certain archetype like Miracles, some people play one of a card, or in Rug Delver, some people sideboard one Sulfuric Vortex or whatever, like we saw in our match earlier today. Or in Miracles, maybe some people have a Containment Priest and some people don't. Some people have Rest in Peace, some people have Cage. It's things like that where you just get to know exactly what your plan is, exactly what your opponent's plan is, and you never have to do anything on the margins. You never have to hedge, and that makes everybody more focused and efficient.
Mm-hmm. Especially in a format like Legacy where there's powerful card selection like Brainstorm, Ponder, and Sensei's Divining Top, knowing that your opponent has access to a one-off copy in their deck list,
definitely.
There's a really high chance that they will find it at some point over the game, so that really matters a lot. So interesting things to think about as our players do sideboard up and get ready for Game 2. Looks like we see Christian Calcano and Andrejs Prost shuffling up, so we'll have that match ready for you all pretty soon. Just a reminder, you can tweet at Channel Fireball, whether you're on Team Prost or Team Calcano, for who you want to win this match.
Who you want to win or who you think's going to win?
I like to say who you want to win.
Oh, okay.
I think it's about rooting for it. I don't think it's about, predicting who's going to win.
But now that Calcano's up a game, all the front runners are just going to be like, I wanted Calcano the whole time.
Let the front runners run, right?
Yeah, fair enough.
Of course, as we've seen all weekend, we have about half of Twitch chat on Team Carl anyway. So,
yeah, that's true.
And there we go. Calcano getting serious with the hat back on. Actually, I'm not sure which is more serious, hat on or hat off.
On.
On
For
is
sure.
more serious? Okay.
Yeah. Look at the game face. He's ready to go. Red Sox beanie. Time to do it.
All right.
In all seriousness, Calculator really wants to get platinum this year. We were talking earlier, and he's like, I mapped it all out. I just need to do this and get these finishes and do this at Grand Prix, and this would be a big start for him. He was 1 point short last year. Really just a great guy.
Yeah.
And he wants it so bad. So hopefully this will be the like the stepping stone for him to sort of kickstart his, the rest of his season.
Yeah, I'd love to see him have a great year. And still, super early in the season, obviously, so
Right.
he's got a lot ahead of him. So this would be a great start. Okay, so we are underway. Andrejs Prost on the play. Starts off with Verdant Catacombs for Underground C. As we saw, whether he has a play or not, he likes to play around Stifle by just fetching.
Didn't work out so well last game.
Didn't work out for him well last game. But, it's kind of a calculated risk. Death Ride Shaman for Calcano. So Prost in some ways suffering a little bit so far this match with lack of one drops or turn one plays. His deck is probably the more powerful of the two as the game goes long, but he's getting punished a little bit for that power in that he's not coming out quite as fast as his opponent.
Well, typically when you want to be a little more powerful, you have to be a little less efficient. Mm-hmm. And that's a reasonable trade-off to make, certainly.
But sometimes you just get wastelanded
But sometimes you just get wastelanded 3 times and die with no lands in play. I mean, what are you going to do?
And the Ponder here for Calcano. Sees a couple different options. Stifle, Lightning Bolt. No more lands on top, though, so we don't know yet whether Calcano has more mana sources in his hand, but if he doesn't, he might want to shuffle this away. Otherwise, he'll just set things up for the next couple turns. Interestingly, I think there was a Stifle in there, so he may choose to draw that and just try to arrange to get this Verdant Catacombs. Looks like that's what he's done. Wasteland hits Underground C, and Deathrite Shaman stays untapped to keep up Stifle mana.
Yeah, that's only half true, though. Like, if Andrejs fetches right now, he gets around Stifle just by having his own Deathrite Shaman untapped.
In the sense that...
So, Andrejs goes, I'm going to sacrifice my Verdant Catacombs. And Calcano goes, in response, I'm going to get a mana with my Deathrite Shaman targeting whatever land. And then in response, Andrejs goes, I'm going to target the same land. You're not going to get a mana. I am, and my fetch is going to resolve. So it looks like Andrejs took the initiative, tried to get a mana, and in response, Calcano targeted the same land to deprive Andrejs of the mana.
And this Brainstorm is in response to Calcano trying to get the mana? And I haven't seen
think so. I think Wasteland is exiled over there.
I see.
I would imagine Andrejs declared combat to empty Calcano's mana pool, but obviously we can't hear them.
So assuming we are in second main phase and the mana's been emptied from Calcano's pool, this fetch land is relatively safe here. So Brainstorm puts back a couple cards to shuffle away. Andrejs gets to develop his mana.
And suspend Ancestral Vision.
So a pretty nice turn for Prost there.
Again, please come to side backstage. Mason Thors, Richard Duval, Andrew Lustig, and Brock Allwright.
And Lightning Bolt takes out Deathrite Shaman.
Calcano regains, or I guess just gains, Deathrite Shaman supremacy. Now he has real big-time Deathrite Shaman supremacy.
So there's Shardless Agent, a card you said you really, really like in this matchup.
Yeah, it's the biggest creature on the board.
Yeah. It's card advantage. It's potentially powerful with Ancestral Vision. And Daze taking out the Deathred Shaman cast off the Cascade there.
Looks like a Cabal Therapy for Calcano. I wonder if there's a card in a specific card he wanted that for, or if he just wanted to try to get some value off Young Pyromancer tokens and things like that.
So that is out of the sideboard then?
Right.
Okay, that's pretty interesting. Looks like he goes for it. So what do you think he's naming here, the way this game is played out? Is he trying to take away some big threat, like Jace the Mind Sculptor?
He'll probably name something like
Andrew Lustig.
Abrupt Decay.
Andrew Lustig, please come to sign exchange for 430 model. Thank you.
I think I nailed it. I think he named Abrupt Decay.
And we see a second Ancestral Vision and a Golgari Charm in Andrejs Prost hands.
Yeah, we got confirmation he did in fact name Abrupt Decay. I mean, it's just a 4 of, it's good in the matchup, and he hasn't cast any, so...
Yeah, makes sense.
I think Cabal Therapy might be a bit low impact for this kind of matchup.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to be naming it blind a lot.
Your opponent has Brainstorm
Right.
and Jace to kind of set things up.
And there just aren't, like, these back-breaking cards. It's not like, you know, you get...
Also, I feel Ancestral Vision is a card that makes Cabal Therapy a little bit worse somehow,
Right.
because you can kind of empty your hand and have threats incoming on a time
pending,
delay.
right, yeah.
But still, it's a powerful card. It's good with Young Pyromancer,
Sure.
so I
And
don't think it's...
Yeah. It might just be for Shardless Agent. Like, he might be hoping to cast it before turn 3.
That's true. So based on the board state and what we see so far, who would you say has the advantage at this point in the matchup?
I think Andrejs. I think that the Ancestral Vision coming in 2 turns is big. Flipping the Delver there with the Lightning Bolt's also pretty big. I mean, obviously Calcano's head on the board, but I think just drawing 3 cards is so powerful in this kind of matchup.
Yeah, for
There
sure.
are 2 cards that Andrejs really needs to deal with.
Brian Spellman to the main event stage.
Delver just whittling him down.
Yeah, Delver can be a big deal. I mean, we'll see what comes off this Ancestral Vision. We haven't seen any Abrupt
A
Decays yet.
Stifle,
Oh,
that's
there's
big.
that Stifle. So that was the
is big.
Stifle from all the way earlier in the game that Calcano was trying to set up with the Death Ray Shaman.
Right.
Andrejs played around
And
that.
instead it counters Ancestral Recall.
Yeah, that's a nice one. So the interaction there, for those who haven't seen it, is you remove the last counter, and then you get a triggered ability that tells you to cast Ancestral Vision, and that's what Calcano stifled. So the card just indefinitely stays in exile with no counters left on it.
And now, I mean, if this bolt resolves, the game's over.
That's
to
it.
the Deathrite Shaman.
Wow. And Calcano takes it. That's pretty impressive in 2 games there. Very nicely done for Christian Calcano. Nice run for Andrejs Prost.
Yeah, he really. What was his record in the Swiss? Like 14-1 or something?
Amazing.
He really.
Truly dominant performance there in the Swiss. He's a fantastic and well-known Magic Online player.
Right.
And Calcano, a good start for our epitomal grinder here for his season. Advances on to the semifinals.